Hello guys, I hope we're doing good and alright. Today is going to be about part 8 of learning to read with dyslexia by a dyslexic, okay? So I'm really excited. For part 8, we're going to talk about the magic of the universal reading method and like how the power of it and the power that you can use in your lives to kind of help you in a way. And this can be a kind of like a two-part, as it were, kind of like my stories with it. And I know I said bits before about the past experiences I had with other reading methods to help dyslexics, and a bit about this method, but I jumped in and out because I want to kind of explain the stories with it, about how I came about it and how I'm so passionate about it. And the second part is kind of saying how this method is different than other methods, and the reason why I think this method will be truly revolutionary and actually change the dyslexia industry in the long term. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode and really like sit back listening in it, and I want to open us up to new opportunities of what could happen. Anyway guys, if you want to improve your English, or if you want to improve your reading ability, or have other people who you want to help improve it, I'm doing this completely free thing for a limited time. Schedule a free 30-minute call with me where we can talk about dyslexia, talk about all these different other things, and see how you can dramatically improve your reading as dyslexic. Completely free, guys. Click the link in the description. But enjoy today's episode.
So the big question is this: how can dyslexics like us create a place, a community, a tribe, where people at any stage of life can come and solve any challenge, amplify their strengths, and ultimately help them become who they were meant to be, or in other words, conquer their dyslexia? That is the question, and this show is the answer. My name's Theo Goff, and welcome to the Conquering Dyslexia podcast.
Okay guys, so let's get into this, talking about the power of the universal reading method and the power of it, and why is it so like what I say, and I know a lot of other people aren't talking about this, so I'm probably the only one that you hear listening to talking about this in this whole dyslexic space, and really know the reason why I can't stop and not talk about it, or why I can't not talk about it, is because I remember. So I made this thing called the Dyslexic Black Book, and I was sending it out to loads of people who want it. And so this Black Book I gathered together, I think it was over 49 plus of most amazing dyslexic videos that I've learned from YouTube, put it all together, compiled it all together, and gave it to people for free. Sorry. And I later expanded that to like everything I could see on the internet for free into one place. Anyway, I was sending this out to all these people, sending them a little message on Facebook, who wanted access to it. And one of these people were called Craig Collins, and I sent it to him, and so he got this little message from me, and then it was like, oh, really cool, went through it, and he sent back, and he started speaking to me on text about learning to read, like in only 2.5 hours, and I thought, this can't happen, that's not true. But I was like, man, kind of just engaged his thoughts. I was kind of texting back and forth for a little bit, and out of nowhere he called me up, and I was like, oh, okay. So I answered it. I answered his phone, and then he started talking to me. He said, oh, Theo, my name's Craig Collins, can you learn to read in 2.5 hours? I'm like, that may be all good, it may work for some people, but it won't work for me, like how severe I am. I was telling him, all about my kind of like past of being one of the most severe dyslexics in England, one of the worst in dyslexic school, all of that kind of stuff. And like I felt like he brushed it off, because I kind of like the ego part of ourselves wanting us to be understood, rather than putting us in the category of every other dyslexic. And that's what I wanted. But he kept me going on. He kept saying, no, look, Theo, I travelled the world, over 10 years travelling the world, trying to thousands of different people, of dyslexic people. And he started saying all these people with PTSD, Alzheimer's, and all these other things about how this method can help them. But I'm like, well, PTSD and people with Alzheimer's don't need help to learn to read. But he's like, no, Theo, it helps them with reading, and it helps them with like other side problems we have, like with Alzheimer's, memory, and PTSD, kind of things like that. And I was like, what? This makes no sense. Anyway, he was so enthusiastic about it. He could not stop talking about all the stories about how it came about. What I really want to do in this series is get him on here as well, so he can speak about it from his own mouth, about the story about it. So I won't kind of like ruin that here and like do it not justice. So anyway, told me a whole story about how get together. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then he slowly talked to me more and more and more, and kind of gave me more and more evidence, more and more facts about to give this a good shot, even though it sounds unrealistic. Give it a good shot. But there's one thing that he said that can tip me over, because he sent me the website I was looking through. I was like, okay, this is really cool. And he said, okay, so you could try it, but there's the 30-day money back guarantee. If you don't like it within 13 days, you can get your money back. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds good. So then anyway, I was like, then when I learned that, sorry, when I learned that, I had this voice in my head. This voice in my head, like, was because I could either say, oh no, so some crazy person and leave it as that and move on with my life, or I could take up the opportunity, because realize there's nothing to lose, and take on this challenge and this opportunity to actually improve my English. Because in my head I had like two options. One, never put the time and effort in and never find out and possibly lose out on something that's incredible. Or number two, give it a go and see if it works. Because if I give it a go, there's two things that happen. One, I know it doesn't work and I can move on. Or two, it works and my whole life transformed. And it's like, sitting there, these two options, and I thought, the only thing I'm really losing out on if I don't take on this opportunity. So I took it on. I was like, okay, great, because he loves talking. He was just talking to me all the time, and I was like on the computer doing it all. I was like, okay, Craig, I got it. And he's like, what? You got it? In like the middle of him talking about something. I'm like, yeah, Craig, I got it. He's like, okay. He told me all the instructions on how to do it, because there's like, the course is just basically loads of things to do online, like assuming like videos, walkthroughs, exercises. But I explained to him over the phone about how to do it. Okay, you have to be fully relaxed, you have to be fully prepared, you can't have any other distractions. Make sure your phone is in the other room, because it's only 2.5 hours, but you have to be your mind totally engaged in order for it to adapt. It's not a thing you do like 1 hour every single week for the rest of eternity. It's only one section. So I was going to try it, and I was like, okay, next day I'm going to get up early and try it. I was so excited. So the next day I got up, done my own morning things, like I had a little bit of exercise, and then I started. I was so excited to start it, and bear in mind it's 2.5 hours, and I was going through, I was like, yep, I learned that, I got that, and in the middle there's a break, there's a 15-minute break, and the 15-minute break you're supposed to go for a walk, and people like not have no phone, just go for a walk, and zero distractions, don't talk to people. So I went for a walk, and I came back, and then I sat down. And I was like, okay, continue it in the second half. And then about 5 minutes after I continued the second half, this little voice in my head went, will this even work, Theo? Do you really think you can do this? Really think you can learn to read in 2.5 hours, even though you spent your whole lifetime trying to learn to read at a like very good level? And this voice, we all have it, like the negative voice kind of stopped me taking action, to kind of stop me moving forward. And then instead of going through all the exercises with like 100% going through it, I skipped. I got distracted, I used my phone. Anyway, when it come to the end, I did see an improvement, but it wasn't the tenfold improvement where that Craig said I would get. It wasn't like 10x, it was like little bits. So in the end there's this, at the end there's like there's a reading test at the beginning and then a reading test at the end. It's not don't be scared or whatever from reading tests that we get, but it's like, okay, things we do ourselves. And I realised the ones that I wasn't that good, the ones at the end, that I thought it'd be a lot better, because I was just mediocre for my level. So anyway, I called him back after that saying, I texted him yesterday, and I was like saying, well, it's not that good. Can I get a refund? I was like, no harm, no foul, let's move on. And then he called me up and he was speaking to me. He was like, look, Theo, let's try it again. Because he was speaking to me and like, did you go for it properly? I'm like, yeah, even though thinking I didn't. But he said this, he said, Theo, let's try it again. And this time, call me up when you get to the end. Okay, good, call me up when you get to the end, but go through the whole thing. I was like, okay, so the next day we had this whole thing scheduled at a certain time, and I did skip through the first half because I've been through it once. But then the second half, I really went through, took my time, and I got to the reading bit at the end, and called him up. We were on the phone, and he said something. He said somethings like there's this thing you do with the words. That he says, and I was doing that thing. I was like, no, Theo, do it more. And then he said another thing. He said, don't try and sound out the word. Look at the whole word and just read it. Because before, when we're in all education classes, we get told to kind of look at just the phonemes and sound out the phonemes over and over and over and over again. But that can slow us down by forgetting to look at the whole word and actually read it as the whole word, which what neurotypical people do. They just look at the word and they read it because they can look at the shape of it. Because the parts of the brain they activated. And so anyway, I started looking at the whole word, and as the words got harder and harder, the weird thing happened is that I was reading faster and faster. I thought that was incredible. How can I read faster and faster, even though the words are getting harder and harder? Anyway, cut a few minutes later, I finished all the words, and that was a lot. That was 100 and something, like, big words that most people can't, most people who wouldn't really be able to read, like, it would be a challenge for most people. Anyway, I was so happy when I finished it. I couldn't believe it that I finished there. And like, well done, Theo, you finished it. I was like, this is incredible. Anyway, I kind of, not acting so emotionally, turned the phone off, started crying, really emotional. And then the next day, this is incredible. The next day, I opened my book, the book that I was trying to read and always failing to read, because I would get fatigued. I opened it, and instead of like looking at the word and reading it phonetically, the words jumped out at me, and I could read them so succinctly. I could read them. It's like these words came to life. Anyway, I was reading through all these words, and like before long, I realized the whole hour had passed. And in an hour, I read 20 pages. That's more than I ever read before in my life. 20 whole pages is massive. I used to read like 3 or 4 in a go and not be able to read anymore. So I read 20 pages, and it was so amazing. I told my mum, I told everyone that I know. I was like, oh, this is incredible. And then within the first month, I actually read a book in a month without trying, without putting loads of effort. I just read it and I understood the whole thing. First 4 months, I read 4 books. By the way, the first book of the first month, the first book I ever read, because I started other books in the past but never really fully finished them. So I thought, this is truly, truly incredible. I started doing loads of research about it and finding out this guy done a PhD on this, and learn a lot about the theories and about what's happening in the brain. Anyway, I gave it to I remember giving this to 2 of my friends. I told this about them, and one of them was Rachel, and she tried it, and I kind of convinced her to try it, and she tried it, and then after she went through it, she told her mum that she could read, and I was like, yeah, you can read now. Oh, cool. She pulled out the Harry Potter book that she'd been wanting to read and never read it, that her dad got it for her birthday, and she started reading, and reading better than she ever could before. And her mum started crying because of how emotional she felt, because obviously being through the whole journey of being dyslexic, finding out dyslexia, finding out why she has the issues, and trying to resolve them through reading programs that that are effective to a certain level. Anyway, went through that. It was incredible. In the first month, actually, I remember called her like a month later, seeing how she was doing, and then she read the whole book. And within a month, I was like, oh, that's cool. I did the same. Like, oh, no way. So anyway, she read her first book, and now she's like reading the whole trilogy of Harry Potter. And then I gave it to another person, a friend called Ray, from America. She tried it, had massive improvement. Gave it to her sister who's got dyslexia, massive improvement. And since then, I have had multiple people contact me from her. She's going around about her, talking about this method, and people talk to me about it. I'm like, yeah, hello, all this other stuff. Anyway, so I kind of shared this with friends, and this is a while ago, and seeing the transformation is truly incredible, and it's truly inspired me to try this. And being absolutely honest, there's no kind of there's like 30-day money back guarantees. There's no risk involved in trying this, and I want to test it out. I want to test it out because I've tried it with, I believe 2-3 people who actually tried it, and all of them had a significant growth, significant transformation. And that's the people I'm in contact with over the long period of time. And so I want to test. I want to see if this method can do what's done with me and with my friends and with the more of the wider group. And so that's really one of my deep motivations of doing this, is to test if it's actually as good as it has been with me. And so spending out there, because it only takes 2.5 hours, and that's it. And what I've done is just a little bit of, you know what I mean, there's this little thing that you go through where you read through the sounds, and you just practice that. I've been just practicing that once a day for a little bit, and it conditions that in. So the science behind this is that when we use this method, when we go for our 15-minute walk, and when we say these sounds, the brain starts refiring itself in different areas. I mean, when I go for the walk, I feel tingling in the back of my head. So as the other 2 people I tried, I had 3 people that I tried it, said they have tingling at the back of their head. And this is what Craig said when he's seen people from all these different other walks of life, got dyslexia, got all these other things. When they walk for the 15-minute break, they feel tingling in the back of their head. They come back, they continue the program, and what they think and theorize is that you mean with the occipital part is being activated with dyslexics. When they read, the occipital part at the back of the brain is not active. In neurotypical people who haven't got dyslexic, it is active, and that's where they can look at the word and read the word form. We don't have that. We only can look at the word, and we have to sound out the word to read it, because we activate the front of our brain, not the back. Also, because we activate the front of our brain, that's next to the area where it's with speech and stuff like that. So that's why we can sound out words when we're reading, and it helps us. So what I'm getting at here is that this method reprograms the mind, so then it's like reading like you haven't got dyslexic, and that's exactly what I felt. Exactly what I felt when I'm going through that. So that's how excited I am with it. It's truly something that needs to be out there in the mainstream, and that's where you have to test it. You have to test it with real people, because in my mind there's 2 ways that we could do something. Like, one, there was the traditional way with the dyslexic methods and all this other stuff, is that they do so much science, so many studies, so much research, and they make conclusions off their research and then put it to the test. And then it proves that, okay, our theory does work. You can improve English doing this way better than the other way. Or another way is that what this method does is that they do something that kind of, like they do something that the result is amazing result. The result's incredible. And just keep on doing that thing. So I don't really care. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day about the science. It only matters about the results. And if the results is better with one thing, you should always do that thing. It doesn't really matter about the science. It matters about the results at the end of the day. Anyway, guys, I hope we enjoyed this episode. Kind of explains in more detail about this method and why I think it's so incredible, and I think we should really try it. Because guys, I think if we are dyslexic or have trouble with reading with kids and people we work with, this is a must. This is a must to try. It's an opportunity. It's like what I said before, and the kind of things that I've thought as like, well, if you don't try it and move on with your life, you could have missed out of opportunity. You can try it, and then you know it doesn't work, or you change your life forever. It's like that kind of thing. And I really hope and pray that you just take the chance to do that. So with that, I'll do 2 things. One, I'll put a link down below in this video to check out the website for this universal reading method and schedule a 30-minute call with me. So anyway, that's what I have, so you can look at it and do your own investigation. Hope you're doing all right, guys, and I hope you enjoy today's episode. I'll see you all again later. Bye-bye.